There's so much concern about censorship or self-censoring.
It's the first time we are seeing a global institution in Hong Kong that stands for Asia and bringing the broad depth of visual culture.
M+, a grand 646,000 square feet visual culture museum opened its doors to the public. The museum, which took nearly 2 decades to complete, overlooks Hong Kong's iconic landmarks. From Li Naihan's CCTV wardrobe to Fang Lijun's 1995 .2, the museum prides itself on its 8,000 artworks, including a $167 million collection of contemporary Chinese art donated by Swiss collector Uli Sig.
The whole opening exhibitions include more than 1,500 objects by almost 800 artists and makers. Many ideas are represented by these exhibitions, and then we see almost infinite possibilities for learning and teaching.
But the opening couldn't have come at a more politically tense time.
The past 20 years, Hong Kong, has enjoyed relative freedoms around culture compared to mainland China. I think what Hong Kong will have to get used to is something that's more akin culturally to what goes on in mainland China.
In the wake of the pro-democracy protests that rocked the Asian Financial Center in 2019, Beijing imposed a national security law on the city. This not only led to arrests of more than 100 democracy activists, but planted the seeds of concern over censorship in the art world. Beijing remains resolute. In his speech in June, Chinese President Xi Jinping laid out plans to exercise overall jurisdiction to protect national security in the city.
It's difficult to have a normal practice when you're busy dodging bullets.
Wang's floating structure paddling home is featured at one of the 6 opening exhibitions at the museum. But the Hong Kong artist, who is widely known for his bold performance and artworks of the protests, now lives in self-imposed exile in Taiwan. In March, Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam reiterated that authorities will be on full alert to ensure museum exhibitions do not undermine national security.
Right now, we have not had to make any changes to our opening exhibitions. National security law is a very new law. We're still waiting to see what that means. But like all institutions in any part of the world, we always work within the law. We don't break the law.
The road to the museum's opening hasn't been without controversy, particularly involving the works of dissident artist Ai Weiwei. His work, Study of Perspective Tiananmen, which depicts Ai Weiwei gesturing to Tiananmen Square, isn't on display but is listed on the website. M+ says it hasn't made changes to its original opening plan. Ai's whitewash and Chang'an Boulevard are on display.
What I can say is that what we have been planning for the opening for the last 5 years are all here. And not just as a chief curator, but for all the curators, all of the programmers have to think about what rules and regulations are. And then that's not a new situation, actually.
You almost cannot distinguish which one is really censored or which one is just self-censorship. I think all the institutions, M+ or other cultural institutions, cannot find any balance. Under the national security law, that means you're losing balance. And there's no way, no space.
Wang, who has 2 works in the opening exhibition Hong Kong Here and Beyond, says there's a lack of art about the city's dramatic political upheaval.
What about the umbrella movement's art in 2014? All those images that was created and produced during the anti-extradition law movement, it would just go in vain, just kind of evaporated. So for me, definitely that's a blind spot.
For M+, they remain undeterred by the politics.
I think the changes and transitions affect everything. But what that means is that it builds flexibility, it also builds resilience, it also tests your own assumptions and your complacency.
There's much different condition now. You're under this very, very strong authoritarian control. But still, art is a possibility to rebel and to find a new language. And that would make the art more powerful. So I really think a real artist should challenge the system.
And I think that's what that's the lesson M+ will have to learn. How do they sustain a critical practice within that particular context?